You are streaming.
Okay, great. Hey, good evening, everybody. Thank you for your patience with this. Like I mentioned before, we're in a different space tonight, so we are operating a little different. Let me just go through, I know you've heard it 1,000 times, but I'm going to go through our meeting kind of rules and order, and then I will let the chair take it away. So welcome, everybody, to the September 17th Historic Resources Commission meeting. My name is Luke Mortensen, and I'll be facilitating the Zoom tonight. With me is Lynn Zollner. She's our Historic Resources Administrator and Staff Liaison to the HRC. We will work alongside the chair, who is on remote video, to facilitate the meeting proceedings. Currently, everyone is muted, so we can talk through the general ground rules for tonight's meeting. This meeting is being recorded and streamed on the city's YouTube channel. During the meeting, please mute yourself by clicking on the microphone icon found on the lower left-hand corner of the Zoom menu next to the video icon. When you are muted, a red line will appear over the icon. This will make it easier for everyone to hear the meeting. Just remember to unmute it if and when you want to speak. In the menu, you can also turn your camera on or off by clicking the video icon located next to the microphone. For the purposes of this public meeting, please keep your video on for the duration. If you are on the phone, you can enter *6 to mute and unmute. Somewhere on the Zoom screen, you'll see a choice to toggle between speaker and gallery view. Speaker view shows the active speaker. Gallery view tiles all the meeting participants. Be aware that we will not be screen sharing as a part of the meeting this evening. All the attachments, reference materials, and submissions from the public are included in the agenda. A few reminders to ensure that the provisions of the Kansas Open Meetings Act are met. Commissioners, you must state your name and title each time you speak. Members of city staff will be doing the same. I would also ask the applicants and members of the public identify themselves each time before they speak to ensure that everyone is able to follow along. And individuals who signed up in advance to provide public comments remotely will be called upon by name. When you are called, please unmute your listening device and state your name before speaking. The chair will then call for in-person public comment for those who are physically present. We have had signs that direct anybody who would come to the City Commission room to our new location. Staff will direct public speak or folks who want to speak at that time. All motions will need to be stated clearly. After a motion is made and seconded, the chair will call on each commissioner to individually provide their vote. The chair should then announce whether the motion carried and the count of the vote. One final reminder to mute and unmute yourself when you're not speaking. At this point, we'll send it back over to the chair. Thanks, guys.
This is Jody Meyer, Chair of the Historic Resources Commission, and we will go ahead and begin with the agenda of the Thursday, September 17th, 2020 Historic Resources Commission. First item on the agenda is communications. Lynn, have we received communications from other commissions, the State Historic Preservation Officer, or the general public?
Lynn Braddock-Zollner, Historic Resources Administrator. We received 3 communications from the State Historic Preservation Office. Those are included in your packet. They're nominations to the National Register. Usually the commission reviews those and sends a letter of support if they think the nomination warrants listing to the State Historic Preservation Office and the Historic Sites Board of Review. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have on those.
Is there any public comment on any of these items?
Lynn Braddock-Zollner, Historic Resources Administrator. We have no one signed up for public comment, and there's no one here in the room.
This is Jody Meyer, Chair of the Historic Resources Commission. We'll bring it back to the commission for discussion.
Jody, this is Commissioner Fry. Should we take roll? Should we take?
Lynn Braddock-Zollner, Historic Resources Administrator. Yes, you should take roll.
All right, sorry about that. We will take roll tonight. Commissioner Irby?
Here.
Commissioner Fry,
Present.
Commissioner Holder,
Present.
Commissioner Buchanan,
Here.
Commissioner Foster, is here. He's on mute. Okay, something's going on. He is present. Commissioner Meyer is present. And I'm sorry, who are we missing tonight?
That's the Lynn Braddock Zollner Historic Resources Administrator. That's the full commission this evening, Chair Meyer.
Okay, thank you. This is Jody Meyer again, Chair. We'll bring back the communications for discussion.
Commissioner Irby, I'm in support of these being added to the register, and I would volunteer myself to draft a letter for one of them or both of them, however we want to do it.
This is Commissioner Meyer. I have reviewed the letter and supporting documents for all three, and I would support a letter of recommendation for all of these projects as well.
This is Commissioner Fry. I feel the same way. In support.
This is Commissioner Buchanan. I also support it, and I'm also very excited to see these moving forward.
This is Commissioner Holder. I'm also in support.
Lynn Braddock Zollner Historic Resources Administrator. I'm happy to draft that letter for the three properties and have the chair sign the letter, or staff can sign the letter on behalf of the commission, whichever is your will.
This is Commissioner Meyer. That would be great, Lynn, if you were willing to do that. I guess I will make a motion that that when you draft the letter, but that we send a letter of recommendation on all three of the properties, the Cone, Gardner Hill and Company Store, the Reuter Organ Company buildings, and the Winter School number 70. Is there a second?
Second, Commissioner Irby, second.
Okay, I'll take roll of the votes. Commissioner Irby,
Aye.
Commissioner Fry,
Aye.
Commissioner Holder,
Aye.
Commissioner Buchanan,
Aye.
Commissioner Foster,
Yes. Are you able to hear me?
yes. And Commissioner Meyer is an aye. There was a motion by Commissioner Meyer, a second, and I'm sorry, now I forget, Irby, Commissioner Irby, be the second, and motion carries 6-0. All right, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda. Is there a disclosure of any ex parte communications?
This is Commissioner Foster. I was not ex parte, but we have received 10 emails from Stephen Watts. I don't see that on here.
Yes, I would state that Mr. Watts has sent the emails, I think, to the full commission, and he is present. It looks like via Zoom this evening. Any other disclosures? Okay, seeing none, then we'll move on to the next item, which is declaration of abstentions for specific agenda items by commissioners. Does anyone have a declaration of abstention? Okay, hearing none, then we'll move on to the next item, which is, are there any committee reports?
Lynn Braddock Zollner Historic Resources Administrator. We have no committee reports for this evening.
Okay, thank you. This is Jody Meyer again, Chair. We will then move on to the next item on the consent agenda, which is action summaries. I don't believe we have any tonight, do we, Lynn?
Lynn Braddock Zollner Historic Resources Administrator. No, you have none on your agenda this evening.
Jody Meyer, Chair. We'll then move on to the administrative approvals. There are several design review applications that have been administratively reviewed and approved by staff. Lynn, do you have any further comments about that?
Lynn Braddock Zollner, Historic Resources Administrator. No, happy to stand for any questions you may have. Kyle Kobe is also on the line. He did some of those reviews as well, so we can answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. This is Jody Meyer, Chair. Is there any public comment on these items?
Lynn Braddock Zollner, Historic Resources Administrator. We had no one sign up for public comment, and there is no one present in the room.
Okay, Jody Meyer, Chair. I'll bring it back to the commission for discussion. Is there any discussion about these design review applications? Or a motion to confirm the design review applications?
This is Commissioner Buchanan. I move that we approve the administrative approvals.
This is Commissioner Fry. I second that motion.
Okay. This is Jody Meyer, Chair. There's a motion and a second. I'll go ahead and take roll call. Commissioner Irby,
Aye.
Commissioner Fry,
Aye.
Commissioner Holder,
Aye.
Commissioner Buchanan,
Aye.
Commissioner Foster,
Yes.
and Commissioner Meyer is an aye. Therefore, the motion by Commissioner Buchanan, seconded by Fry, carries 6-0. All right, we will next move on to public comment. Is there any public comment this evening?
Lynn Braddock Zollner, Historic Resources Administrator. You do have one person signed up for public comment this evening. It's Stephen Watts, and there is no one in the room for any additional public comment.
This is Jody Meyer, Chair. Thank you, Lynn. Mr. Watts, would you like to speak this evening?
I do. I'm a little confused, however, because when I sent the information and I thought that we were talking about a specific item, I think I'm on both, actually.
Are you talking about the markers?
Correct.
This is Commissioner Meyer. If you'd like to, Mr. Watts, we can move down to the public hearing items and you can speak in the public comment section of that if you prefer.
It'll save you time, I think.
Okay.
That's all I really want to talk about.
Okay, great. So, and this is Commissioner Meyer again. Since there's no other public comment, we'll move on to the public hearing items, which is the proposed historic markers for Grover Barn in the Outdoor Aquatic Center. Lynn, would you like to say anything about this item?
Lynn Braddock Zollner, Historic Resources Administrator. Yes, we have a couple of marker proposals before you this evening. Both of these have been in process for over a year now. You actually saw the markers for Grover Barn at your September meeting last year. At that time, there was a proposal for 4 markers. Going through the design process, it's now 3 markers, and bringing that back to you. While these aren't the final proofs that were included in your packet, they're pretty close to the final with maybe some minor edits still to come, and that's for Grover Barn. The marker for the swimming pool has also been in process for about a year now. That was started by a group of citizens who have raised money to help pay for the marker and working with our Parks and Recreation Department on that. Steve Novak has also been involved with that. Marker will be placed outside the Outdoor Aquatic Center in Watson Park. And staff has looked at both of these marker requests and find that the size, scale, massing, placement, and materials are appropriate 4 historic markers in the city of Lawrence and in the case of Grover Barn for the landmark property. And I'd be happy to stand for any questions you may have.
This is Jody Meyer, Chair. Thank you, Lynn. Then I believe we do have public comment. Mr. Watts, if you want to go ahead. Mr. Watts, you're on mute still. There you go.
Thank you. Stephen Watts, Lawrence, Kansas. Are you talking about the markers individually or together?
Well, they're down as an item that is together, but we can speak to them individually.
Okay. My concern is with the one on the swimming pool. I think that you've been given a pig and a poke, so to speak. I sent you that information. I'm sorry if it went 10 times. A lot of information is flowing out these days with respect to trying to get some truth out, not just on this issue, but on several of the other issues here in town. And had you all been familiar with the Jim Crow article or the 1948 core demonstration at that brick cafe?
This is Jody Meyer.
I'm sorry.
Oh, this is Jody Meyer, Chair. I did read the information.
Oh, I mean, prior to me sending it, had you all had access to that data? Because if you did, there's no point in going on. If you did not, then I'm going to suggest that there's some problems.
Well, why don't you go? This is Jody Meyer again. Why don't you go ahead, Mr. Watts?
Okay, thank you. Specifically in dealing with the one on the verbiage on the plaque for the swimming pool, to begin with, history is not correct. No. The demonstration lasted, but the city worked with the owner of the pool to stop it. And then they sneaked in an ordinance, which they really didn't need because it was a private swimming pool. Before the 1960 Dealey Bob, you could buy a ticket to get in there, as you all read in the Plunge article that I think you already had. So that's wrong. There was no victory setting a stage for the next 10 years. That's a whole bunch of nonsense. There was nowhere for those kids to swim and nowhere for Black people to swim. In addition, when we talk about, if we want to get into the politics of it, it's going to get nasty because there's a lot of names, and it's not about smearing names. It's about segregation went on in Lawrence, Kansas style. And this myth of the Free State, which we've all perpetuated, pretty much, I think all of us have in Lawrence, Kansas. I sort of stopped about 35 or 40 years ago when I got sick of hearing about Quantrill's raid every year, going, what? No, this is not how, no. Irrespective, the data on the plaque with respect to Rainey, didn't Rainey's have a soda fountain in the 50s and in the 60s? And I think there were foodstuffs sold there. I can't really remember because there was several units downtown. The downtown of yesteryear, which was to me a real people's downtown, versus Boutiqueville that downtown is all about now, commerce and business, different. In the article that you were sent in relation to the 1948 demonstration, the sit-in, is that something that has been discussed with this group relative to history in Lawrence, Kansas? Were any of you aware that that went on? I mean, is it okay to ask, is this a give and a take, or am I just going to give and then sit back? Because that's the way the city commission works, and you can only get 3 minutes with those guys.
Well, I wasn't sure if some of your questions were rhetorical or you wanted answers out of every person. I mean, and this is Jody Meyer, Chair. I mean, I don't know that I personally know all of the history or that it's been brought to the commission. I mean, some of it that we do, but generally speaking, the history that we go over is related to the particular project before us at the time. Does that answer your question?
In a roundabout fashion, it does. In a politically correct speak piece, it does. Well, then I can't support that plaque for that pool. That pool wasn't built as a success to integration, which is how you're characterizing it. No, That's not true. That isn't what happened. I was in the room when it happened. No, that's not what happened. You're getting fed once again, you're getting fed a lot of bull by other politicians. And you have all of these politicians noted in that Jim Crow article, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. I can start sending you all kinds of things, and I don't really want to do that. I don't think it's going to do any good anyway. Lawrence has to own it was a segregated city, no different than Selma, Alabama, or Jackson, Mississippi, or it can't get fixed. And we can say that it's been fixed, but really, seriously, that's really all I have to say.
This is Commissioner Buchanan. I appreciate your steadfastness on understanding and trying to disseminate Lawrence's history. I am aware of those, the history in Lawrence. I am from Lawrence. I think there is a bigger context in here that needs to be looked at. I think there are just look at the River Kings closely and the names involved, who was the warden at the time that prevented some of the fishing. So segregation happened on a lot of different levels. And I think that's why this is the opportunity to have a committee come together of historians, and then those who are charged with disseminating that history to come together and really tell a more holistic narrative.
Am I allowed to talk back?
This is Commissioner Meyer. You may.
Oh, thank you, Ms. Meyer. I hear what you're saying, but to me, that's just PC speak for beating around the bush. You're protecting a lot of old hack politicians from this state who are kind of Jim Crow in this town. I lived it. I mean, I was a little kid doing it, but in retrospect and looking back on it, because I've been in Lawrence since 1952. And I remember the Deluxe Cafe and the Union Cafe and all of the places. And it's now becoming even more crystal clear that, whoa, there weren't any Black people in those places. I didn't know it when I was 8 years old, 7, 8, 10, 11 years, didn't know it, wasn't paying any attention. So I respectfully disagree. I think that it's a whitewash. It's okay to put the sign up, but what you say in the sign is something else. If Rainey's discriminated against people and he was the mayor, ooh, that's wrong. No, he doesn't get, sorry, no more free rides for the rich guys. It doesn't work like that anymore. Our society is quickly turning into rich people, poor people. And I'm going to be dead by the time it's all said and done, but that's what I'm projecting. And so I appreciate your input, and I just don't accept it. I think that the language is revisionist. I think that the language protects people, and I think that the language perpetuates the lie. I respect the fact that you grew up in Lawrence, but I don't think you lived it quite the same way. I appreciate your perspective, however, and I do appreciate the opportunity to speak.
This is Chair Meyer again. Mr. Watts, do you have a proposal about what you think the sign should say?
No, I don't. That's not my role.
Okay.
And again, I appreciate being able to speak, but that's what the public is supposed to be able to do on these kinds of things. And 99 times out of 100, nobody watches what any of this stuff goes on. I mean, they move the train. I could talk forever about this stuff. There used to be a fire engine in the park that got moved. There's all kinds of history that means something, but doesn't mean something unless you're these kinds of people. But back to the segregation issue, Lawrence needs to own its history. I do have an idea, and that was, okay, in the library, this was just off the top of my head. In the library, there's a wall in the basement or in the bottom level where the computers are, the Glorify the Past Mayors, Leadership Lawrence wall. I think that you can maybe put an exhibit down there that says, look, this went on. I'm not saying it has to be a huge wall, but there has to be something from my perspective that the city says, yeah, this went on. We did this. Not only did we did this, we participated in doing it.
This is Commissioner Buchanan. I think this is something that I've had to personally also acknowledge, is that these two plaques have been underway for a long time. The fact that we are now acknowledging that there needs to be a community engagement and committee related to anything going forward. So I think people are finally hearing and wanting to, I think that's what this is all about, is saying, okay, these two are going to kind of continue on status quo, but there is going to be an opportunity in the future to look at things a little.
I appreciate.
Commissioner Irby, Lynn, can we hear more about the quote, a group of Lawrence citizens who has been working with the Parks and Rec Department to propose this particular marker? Can you tell us more about the makeup of that group?
Lynn Braddock-Zollner, Historic Resources Administrator. I don't have the full list of the people that have been working with that group. I know I have been working with Virgil Dean, who's written a lot of Kansas history, who's been involved in this. Steve Novak is on the line. He may be able to give a little bit more information about that group.
Yes, this is Steve Novak. The effort was spearheaded by, or is being spearheaded by Boog Heiberger, and he has involved groups, individuals from the NAACP's History Committee, I know. Virgil was the author for that project, and I've been facilitating the design with the designer and the fabrication with the fabricator.
Were there other, so it was mostly the NAACP, that was the local community group working with Virgil Dean. Were there any other local citizens involved, or groups, community organizations?
Well, Steve,
So he was, oh, pardon me, this is Steve Novak. It was Boog who was coordinating that, and he may have involved some other people. I know he has been receiving community feedback on that, or feedback from different groups on that. I'm just not aware of all of the people who he's talked to.
this is Commissioner Meyer. Thank you. Mr. Watts, was there anything else that you wanted to say?
No, I appreciate being able to give a perspective. I certainly hope that, well, I appreciate the idea that, hey, we're going to do this because we've been doing it a year, but we're going to catch up and put some others on there. I worked for the government for a long time, and I know I love those kind of answers because I know they don't happen most of the time. That's what you tell people that's what a good administrator does. So I appreciate your sincerity because I believe that you believe it. But you see, I don't think the community believes it. And when you talk about passing all of this stuff around for other people to look at it, they know the segregation history of Lawrence, Kansas. It was not a one-day event. It was not a 10-year event. It was a long time. And it's okay. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. This is Jody Meyer, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Watts. Is there any other public comment?
Lynn Braddock-Zollner, Historic Resources Administrator. We had no one else sign. Oh, we did have Carrie Altenburn signed up for public comment, and also Steve Novak, if he wants to say something else. They're both signed up for public comment, and then we don't have anyone in the room.
This is Jody Meyer, Chair. Thank you. Mr. Aldenben, do you wish to say anything?
Yes, I support both of them. Obviously, I've worked with the Grover Barn one intimately with Steve and the rest of the guardians of Grover Barn. Well, we've been working on it diligently for about a year, and the last 5 months have been very interesting time. The problem is you can't have everything on all the history on one or even 3 kiosks. You have to be selective. Kiosks are not the place to tell the entire history of something. And so, I mean, the personal experience is how much wrangling we had to do to get them to the point where we are now. The pool kiosk actually has been in process for more than a year. It predates the formation of the NAACP History Committee that I'm chair of. We took it on since Boog and Virgil Dean are both members of the NAACP. We folded them in to our committee after we organized the history committee. But we haven't given them any directions. They have done it all on their own. And so it's their deal. And actually, I helped proof the pool kiosk. And as I said, it doesn't have all the history, but it does have part of the history. It has a summation of the history. And unless you want to put 5, 6 plaques there, which I don't think anybody wants to do because that's overkill, you're not going to be able to tell the whole story. I disagree that the story isn't being told. The story is starting to come out. It's taking a long time. The history, the pool plaque, the lynching memorial marker that's on its way. It's not here yet, but we're working towards it, and other things, and also the memorials for Nick Rice and Tiger Dowdell, and also talking about something to discuss the actual history of 1970 in Lawrence. It's a process. You can't do it all at once. And the people that are doing it are kind of busy. I mean, it's the same group of people who are interested in doing this, which limits how much you can do at any one time. If other organizations wanted to come up with separate ideas and work with them and come with them and do them, then that's would be great. But that has not been my experience in the past. So I support both of these proposals, and I recommend to you, I suggest to you that you pass them on so that they can be finished and be fabricated and installed, hopefully this year before it gets too cold. So the story is at least partly out there. Thank you.
This is Commissioner Meyer. Thank you, Carrie. Steve, did you have anything else to say?
This is Steve Novak. I don't have anything new to add. I would be glad to answer any questions that the commissioners may have about the design, the fabrication, the time frame for those projects.
This is Commissioner Meyer. Thank you. We'll go ahead and bring it back to the commission for discussion then.
This is Commissioner Holder. I do have a question, not about the content, but more so to the fabrication. I'm assuming that a fabricator has been selected for its longevity for outdoor environment. How is that going to look? And also, who is responsible for the maintenance of these markers going forward?
This is Steve Novak. I can't speak to the maintenance. Perhaps Lynn Zollner may be able to do that. The materials that the panels are fabricated for are UV resistant and guaranteed for 10 years.
Lynn Braddock-Zollner, Historic Resources Administrator. Right now, the swimming pool marker will be maintained by our Parks and Recreation Department. The Grover Barn panels are something that we're still talking about who's going to be the maintenance. It will be city, whether or not it's going to be taken care of out of the fire and police budget or Parks and Recreation budget. That's still up in the air. It's most likely going to be Parks and Recreation, since it's a city facility.
Thank you. This is Commissioner Holder, follow-up question. I would hate to think that this would happen, especially in Lawrence, but our climate begs the question. Has the manufacturer indicated graffiti resistance, or if something was to happen to the signs, how they would get cleaned? Is that a question we've looked into?
This is Steve Novak. I'll have to check the specifications, but that would be information that would be easy for me to track down.
Lynn Braddock-Zollner, Historic Resources Administrator, and I think that's something as we move through with the fabrication and installation that the city always looks at as well, because they do have to maintain the signs.
Commissioner Irby, markers like these in other cities have also been shot at. So I think it's not just graffiti.
All right, this is Chair Meyer. Is there any other discussion?
Commissioner Irby, I'm in support. So are we talking about these together, both markers together?
I believe the action item, this is Commissioner Meyer, is that we approve both of them.
So I'm in favor of approving. I know that Lynn indicated that some editing might still take place. I'm not sure exactly to what extent she's that editing, how much of editing that might permit. I do have some like copy editing, writing things. I don't know if that's my place. I also would, particularly with the swimming pool, have different points of emphasis. But again, I don't know. I know that we don't really have a policy in place for the HRC to necessarily be involved in that. I would be, again, don't know if this is my place, but I would be happy to forward to whomever is appropriate my sort of quibbles with various statements or some writing things.
This is Steve Novak. I would be glad to receive those and share them with the people who are heading the project. With the Grover Barn panel, the edits that are yet to come are pretty much like correcting misplaced commas. There are some misspelled words in there, spots where spacing is off. We're kind of at that level. The swimming pool panel may yet receive some more substantial content revision, depending on the feedback that comes. So I would be glad to collect that up and pass it into the system.
Commissioner Irby, that sounds appropriate to me. I think the Grover Barn is in better shape than the swimming pool one. And so I would be happy. I would appreciate the opportunity to give feedback.
Okay, this is Commissioner Meyer. Is there any other discussion?
This is Commissioner Buchanan. I just want to commend those who have worked on this because I know it's been for some decades to get this far. And to Carrie's point, they do exactly what they're supposed to, get you engaged to dig deeper and then offer where to go to find that information. So I do want to commend those who have worked on it in that sense. And I'm anxious to see kind of more of a final version.
This is Commissioner Fry, and I do want to thank those who participated in the effort. I think it's a good job, and I support their effort.
Okay, this is Commissioner Meyer. Is there a motion?
This is Commissioner Holder. I would like to move that we approve the historic markers for Grover Barn and the Outdoor Aquatic Center.
Commissioner
Is there a
Buchanan, second?
Okay. There's a motion and a second. I will take roll call. Commissioner Irby?
Aye.
Commissioner Fry?
Aye.
Commissioner Holder?
Aye.
Commissioner Buchanan?
Aye.
Commissioner Foster?
Yes.
And Commissioner Meyer is an aye. So there was a motion by Holder and a second by Buchanan, and the motion carries 6-0. All right. Thank you on that. Moving on then to the last item of the evening, the miscellaneous items from city staff or commission members.
Lynn Braddock, Resources Administrator. You do have one miscellaneous item that you need to conduct business on this evening, and that is in response to a recommendation that this commission made to the city commission to establish a standing subcommittee to review markers as they come through the city process. This was a separate committee from that for the Rice and Dowdell markers. This would be a standing subcommittee. The membership from the HRC would be the historian position, which is currently Commissioner Irby. But your action this evening would be to establish a standing subcommittee, which would have a representative from the HRC as the historian of the HRC, a member from Parks and Recreation Department, a member from the Human Relations Commission, and any other people that may need to be added as those meetings take shape. Oh, and I'm sorry, and a representative of the Watkins Community Museum of History. Sorry, Steve.
All right. Well, I would move that we establish a standing subcommittee for markers. That committee would include the historian representative for the Historic Resources Commission, a member from the Parks and Rec, member from the Watkins Community Museum, a member from the Human Relations Commission, and any other person, I guess, deemed necessary at some point down the road.
This is Commissioner Fry. I second that motion.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. So we'll take roll call. Commissioner Irby,
Aye.
Commissioner Fry,
Aye.
Commissioner Holder,
Aye.
Commissioner Buchanan,
Aye.
Commissioner Foster,
Yes.
Commissioner Meyer is an aye. So the motion was made by Commissioner Meyer, seconded by Fry, and carries 6-0. And I think that that is the end of the agenda for this evening. So I would move that we adjourn unless anybody has anything else.
Unfortunately, I do have a quick mention. This is Commissioner Buchanan. I think we all received an email this evening from Steve Evans talking about a kind of grassroots effort to look at kind of the city hall, the kind of park, and kind of tying that to North Lawrence and kind of all the initiatives that are happening in Lawrence, including the plaques and other built environment developments. And if you haven't read the email, I highly suggest reading it. Those that are involved in this, I think we're all going to recognize a lot of the names, but I think it's going to be something to watch. And the approach that they're trying to get others behind and involved in makes all the sense in the world. It's just about community coming together and collaborating, listening and understanding, and taking everything at once instead of this kind of like, this commission does this commission does that. And so I don't know where it's going to go, but I thought the email was compelling. So I encourage you to read the email.
This Commissioner Holder, not everyone received that email. I have my inbox open. I don't have any communication.
Well, your name's on the list.
This is Commissioner Meyer, and I didn't receive one either, to my knowledge.
Lynn Braddock Zollner, Historic Resources Administrator. I can make sure each of you get a copy of the email.
This is Commissioner Meyer. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, then. Is there any other miscellaneous items? All right, seeing none, then I would just move that we adjourn for the evening. So that's it.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.